Hi guys, today we're talking about pointers, and we're going to use the same example that we had last week, which was on references. So if you followed the last week's video, then you have something like this, where we have person object. We are sending that object to this update name function by reference. We set the object's name to Bob, and we then print that object's name twice. Once in this update name function, and this is the second time we're printing. So like we said earlier, by default C++ will copy your objects or your values that you're passing into functions, and we can specify to pass by reference, which kind of means I'm passing the same object. There is also another way of doing that, and that is pointers. So we're going to slightly update this example, and then I'll give you another one, which is kind of like an answer or a solution to the task that you did last time, which is items. So how would we modify this example to work with pointers? Well, first of all, we're going to modify the function signature. We're going to say that it's no longer a reference, but it's a pointer. And to say that something is a pointer, you need to add the star symbol after the type. So here's the type, which is person, and then you're adding the star to say that the type now is not just person now, but it's a pointer to person. And therefore, this thing becomes a pointer. And you'll see that the ID is now underlining existing code, saying we don't do it like this. When you have a pointer, you don't use the dot notation, you use the arrow notation. The remaining syntax is fine. So if you want to access a variable from a pointer, then you use the arrow notation. If you want to call a function using a pointer, you will use the arrow notation. So it looks like this is fine and the ID is happy. Now here you see another thing underlined. Earlier we were passing just P itself, but P, if you look at it, its type isn't pointer, its type is person. And the function expects a type person pointer. So you can see that they are not the same type. Therefore, we have to do something in order to convert what we have into what the function expects. Otherwise, I think that's true for most programming languages, your code won't compile because function expects something and you're passing something else. Unless that something else is a subclass or subtype of what the function expects, this won't work. So how do we change person into person pointer? We add the ampersand symbol before the instance name or the object name, the variable name that we're passing in. This can be a little bit confusing because earlier we had the ampersand here to say that this was a reference, but the ampersand here means I'm getting an address of this thing. But we're not going to talk about addresses. Just think we're converting it to a pointer. That's it. We'll keep addresses out of the scope of this video. So just to quickly recap, if you have a type and you want to turn that type into type pointer, obviously type pointer for that type, you just add the ampersand symbol up in front of your variable name. And currently it seems it's happy. So let's try this in practice. And as we had last time, we now have two Bobs. One Bob is being printed from this function, and the other Bob is being printed from this function. And like in the example with references, we also still have only one object, which is P. This is not a copy of it. This is a pointer to that object. Yeah, we'll go with that. And we're just changing that object's name to Bob, and therefore this object's name to Bob, and of course the name will be Bob. So now let's do this with a different class so that you have a slightly different example. It's going to be very similar, but this should help you with also your task that you should have completed as part of the last video. Class item, going to have string name, string description. That will be fine. Yeah, let's create a function. Update item data. Let's go with that. Item star, which means pointer to item. Item, the arrow notation. Remember, with pointers you use the arrow notation. Name is a wooden sword. How about that? Item description, a simple training sword used by royal guards. How about that? And that should be it. Now we don't have class person anymore. We don't have these things anymore. Item is our object. Let's update item data by passing in pointer to this thing. And then we're going to, let's add a function actually to print all this stuff. Void print data. Item name. Description. It's getting a bit long, but you know, it's fine. I suppose I could do this because we know it's an item. Yep, and then once done that, we're just going to print our data to the screen. Yeah, so we create our item. We passed a pointer to that item into this function. In this function, we set the name and the description of that item by accessing its variables using the arrow notation. And then finally, we called print data, and we should see some stuff printed to the screen now. Yep, name is wooden sword, description is whatever we typed, so that's good. And that completes our reasonably simple introduction to pointers. These pointers, the star, is usually known as a raw pointer since the introduction of smart pointers, and that's something that we're going to cover sometime in the future. On this note, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.